What are you doing? Everything okay? Look, I was just recording a video to tell you about the pros and cons of living in Japan. The good, the bad. But leaving out the videos about what I like most about Japan, what I like least about Japan, and the cultural shocks. But these are things that, in my opinion, are advantages and some disadvantages of moving to Japan if you're not Japanese, obviously, from a foreign Latin perspective. But when it comes to politics, it's a country where you can really be apolitical and nobody cares about your political ideology. Nobody cares what you think about this or that, whether you're for or against something, or about things that aren't political. But it's about ideology, whether you agree with something or disagree with something else. You can live peacefully without that stress of talking and arguing about politics. At least for me, I really like not having to argue about politics with anyone. That's great. Against the price of rent. Rent here is very expensive and, well, beyond just the price of rent. The space in the apartments is very, very small. I mean, $700 for, I don't know, 20 square meters, maybe less, $700. It depends a lot on the area. The thing is, if you move to the city, it's very rare to pay less than $500 a month. It's different if you move away from the city, from comfortable central areas. To rent. Formally, most likely you'll start with a studio apartment first. Oh, that's bad. But it's a country where you always have something to do. There are always new things. So you can always find new activities. Like, you're never going to get bored, at least when it comes to going out and walking around. Besides, that's good, right? You become an adult and that's it. You can explore the country from scratch for free. Many places in the city offer opportunities to go out, walk around, and take pictures at no cost. In Japan, especially around Tokyo, the 4 seasons are very distinct and clearly defined. And that's great, because depending on the season, you have different activities, different foods to try, you have summer food, winter food. You can enjoy that, and it's something great. Yes, summer is really intense, and if summer didn't exist in Japan, it would be paradise, but it's very tough, very humid, very stifling. Even though there's a lot of coastline, most of the city's coast is just port. Therefore, there isn't much beach activity within the city of Tokyo. Unfortunately, everything is really expensive no matter where you go to hang out. The expenses are always high. From travel expenses to food, particularly in tourist areas with souvenirs and such, everything in Japan is very expensive. I mean, you can easily save money if you don't leave your house, you can save a lot of money. If you know how to manage your household finances well, you can save a lot of money. But if you go out and don't keep track of your money, you can really mess things up. Then, at the month's end, it's going to be hard because you spent it all going out, and if you go out drinking, you spend a lot of money too. That's it, because it really is a very expensive country. That's too bad. About the paperwork in Japan moves quickly, and that's good. There's a lot of bureaucracy, but if you know how to get around and you follow the instructions as you should, the paperwork moves quickly. For example, Lore has to renew her visa every few years. The first time we had to do the visa renewal process, it took some time. We had several days to get the paperwork done and everything, and from then on, always on paper. In one day, I wrote down and completed all the necessary paperwork. And that's considering I had to go to at least 3 municipal buildings. What if we started early and went to the municipality to ask for that paper, then across the street to ask for the other paper? And that way, in one day, we would have all the paperwork done. And beyond just the municipal services, actually, services in general are fast. If you call to complain to a company, such as an internet provider, they respond quickly. Anyway, I've never had internet problems. I never had to call about any issue, neither with the internet nor with the phone service. What is that? Just now? I just realized I've never had to call to make complaints. No, yes, they solve everything quickly. The services are very efficient, which is a real plus. That's great. I love pretending. The one who comes walking, you know? Like it's nothing, it's such a stupid habit. But there's something that's actually good. The downside contrasts with the previous one. The paperwork is fast, and the services are good. Japan is the most bureaucratic nation globally. When you have to do paperwork, you have to write, and read and fill out forms, even online. But you have to live with paperwork. It's incredible. Every field has its own office. For example, I'm an electrician. We're workers. But in the company where I work, there's an office where there are people who have to be paid a salary to handle all the paperwork of the company, because that's how it is. There's too much bureaucracy in Japan. You need paperwork and procedures for everything. There is way too many paperwork jobs in Japan, and if you don't know the language, it's pretty complicated. About the food? Yes, I'm the worst example when it comes to food because, well, I'm a disgusting fat guy. But beyond my condition. We have to admit that Japanese food is very good. I mean, you eat everything. Lots of vegetables, lots of fish, not so much red meat. I mean, it depends on the self-control you have over what you eat. But the thing is, when it comes to choosing, you always have a lot of options that are healthy and tasty. Let's take an example. Japan is one of the countries with the highest life expectancy in the world. And one of the most influential factors in that is that their diet is very good. The quality of products like ramen always has a downside. I really like ramen, and that's why I am the way I am. When you want to eat something quickly, it doesn't necessarily have to be junk food, pure fat. There is fast food that you buy at a 24-hour place, and there can be food that, all things considered, you can consider more or less healthy. Against the very opposite of the previous one. The thing about food is that if you miss the food from your country, you're pretty much screwed. If by chance there happens to be a restaurant from your country's style that has the real taste of your country, it's going to be pretty expensive. Normally, many of the ingredients used, for example in Argentina here, are actually expensive ingredients. For example, we really like cheese. Although many products here contain cheese, the quality and type differ from what we have in Argentina. And cheese is much more expensive here. Barbecue? Forget it. It's too complicated to have one here. Not just because of the cuts, which aren't cuts that are sold here. You have to look for it imported in a Brazilian store, where it's going to be a bit more expensive. And also, since houses here don't have yards, you don't have anywhere to light a grill. You can't do it in a park or maybe at a campsite where you can rent a space with grills or whenever you can. Pro. And this one is pretty personal. It depends on your point of view. It could be a downside for some people. But if there's something I don't miss, it's the constant presence of Catholicism, Christianity, the topic of religion. At least those that I just mentioned. Because, well, I already made a video about what Shintoism is, the native Japanese religion. But the fact is, I love that here nobody brings religion into everything. Anyway, if you're religious, there are churches, even if you like to pay tithes, there are churches where you can pay your tithe without any problem. Run by Brazilians, I don't know. Against. You'll never fully adapt to the country. The number of customs and unwritten rules in the country is countless. So, is Japanese culture very different from what we Latinos are used to? You may agree with the culture of respect, but upon arrival you might be unaware of what actions are considered disrespectful or not. What's right, what's wrong? There's something that's often said in Japan, which is kukyo yomu, or reading the air. That's something you have to do constantly. You have to read the atmosphere, realize what the situation is like, and silently analyze what's happening and what you need to do so you don't look bad. You must be tactful. You may come across as rude without realizing it, which can happen. It's okay. It's a matter of getting used to it, and you won't really notice it until you experience it. Customs, traditions, wedding and funeral practices, all those things. Each day presents new learning opportunities, which is beneficial. But it feels bad because you feel like the odd one out, the ignorant one who doesn't know about that. If you don't have high expectations, you won't suffer from unemployment. There's always work. Yes, well, maybe because of the pandemic, let's say in a normal time for the country. It's not really hard to get a job. It really depends on what you're looking for. If you come here willing to work at anything, you'll find a job doing anything, even without knowing the language. If you put in the effort, if you have the will, you'll always find a job. Families and friendships. A basic one, but there are many people who maybe never considered it, never thought about it. And they arrive in Japan, miss their family and friends, and go back to Argentina. Because I know of a case of someone who went back to Argentina and didn't take advantage of their working holiday. They went back after just a couple of weeks. And it's a shame. Therefore, even though it's obvious, it's something that needs to be emphasized about the fact that you're going to be away from your loved ones. Many people say that one of the big problems is making connections. Having friends in Japan depends. Before, maybe it was a bit more complicated. Now, with the internet, there are Facebook groups of people who get together. Argentinians, for example. If you learn the language, well, what you do need to know should be able to handle or enjoy drinking alcohol, but it's not a strict requirement. But if you can socialize with Japanese people, if you go drinking at a bar or find a small bar where only Japanese people go, and sometimes they're Japanese people who want to meet foreigners. And from there, you can make friends. I have a friend who has a lot of Japanese friends, but the guy really learned, he studied the language a lot. Similarly, I have many friends who didn't learn any Japanese, but they hang out all the time with friends from their own country. Therefore, the topic of social life really depends on each person, on how much you want to get together with people. But living in a clean environment is priceless. Living in a country where the streets are clean. That's very important, yes. It's a country that produces a lot of trash, especially plastic. And I've mentioned it before. What a nice young man. The key is to avoid throwing all that plastic on the street. And also, cleanliness in the bathrooms, cleanliness in public transportation, cleanliness at work, cleanliness everywhere. Japan. No, I can't defend Japan as a country that doesn't pollute at all. It's one of the countries that produces the most carbon dioxide. But at least there isn't the kind of pollution that exists, for example, in China or Korea. Many people think it's the same pollution in Japan, but that's not the case. Okay, beyond the pandemic, Japan has always used... It's a country that has always used masks, which has its own explanations for why. In winter, they use them a lot to avoid catching a cold and to not spread illness to others. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The thing is that masks are not used because of pollution. They're used for other reasons. But at least you don't see that polluted air that's visible to the eye that makes your eyes burn. Luckily, that doesn't happen here. And seeing this park with kids playing, I remembered something else. It's very important that Japan has an excellent environment for raising children. In fact, you always have parks where kids can play safely. Children are really well taken care of, both when they go to school and when they leave school. They closely monitor that kids attend class. For example, skipping class. Attending school in Japan is quite unique. If your child doesn't go to school, they call you on the phone. Also, the kids have safety measures too. For example, the kids always carry a kind of alarm. They hang it on their backpack in case there's a suspicious person. They can sound the alarm to make a commotion, let's say, to attract attention. Or, for example, kids are always taught to greet the police, and the police have to return the greeting to the kids. Because they always want to try to form a connection between the kids and the police, so that the kids are familiar with the police and know they can always go to them. Because kids have to consider the police as trustworthy people, they know these are people they can go to, and that's really good. Also, I thought it was a pretty important point to highlight. Yes, it's much broader, but Japan itself is a really good country to raise kids in. I doubt this is a reason why you'd say, no, I'm not going to live in Japan because of this, but it's something to keep in mind. It's the natural disasters. I mean, in Japan there are typhoons, there are earthquakes. The most famous mountain in the country is a volcano that, Well, okay, it hasn't erupted in 300 years, but it's still a volcano. The good thing is that Japan is pretty well prepared for everything. I mean, I've been in Japan since I was 15. The worst thing I ever experienced was the 2011 earthquake, but personally, I didn't suffer that much from it. Actually, I already made a video talking about my experience. It's a country that suffers or has suffered all kinds of natural disasters. Those that have happened and those that are yet to come. And even so, well, it's holding up pretty well. But nobody bothers you. It's a country where nobody messes with you about anything, and that's great. A lot of people, when I mentioned that the police respond to calls from neighbors who make too much noise, say, you must be one of those neighbors who make a lot of noise. No, not at all, if that ever happened. Besides, if that ever happened, I would know who it is, because I only have one neighbor next door. But it has happened to friends of mine who threw a little party in their apartment, and of course, there they had several neighbors and someone called. And does it feel so good to not have neighbors? They blast music on a Saturday night. You're a guy and you dress up as Sailor Moon in the street. And some are going to say, but nobody's going to mess with you. Nobody says anything. And if someone does throw shade, they do it behind your back. Regardless, nobody bothers or messes with you about anything, which is crucial. And this is for specific people. The issue of sizes, measurements. If it's a very obese or very tall person, you're in trouble because you won't find any clothes in your size and the portions of Japanese food won't be enough for you. Well, for example, I am overweight, and I manage it more or less. It's not like I'm that big either, so I can find clothes in my size here. Although, well, shirts. From the brand Lucky 13, which I always wear, I buy them imported. And the girls are the ones who can suffer the most, because if they're just a little bit bigger. It's just that it's very easy to be a little bigger than a Japanese woman. I mean, Japanese women are very, very small. And if a Western girl is, I don't know, about 170 tall, she'll already struggle to find things in her size. Both shoes, clothes, dresses, whatever it is, it's an issue. Well, this is the temple where the tombs of the 47 Ronin are. So let's leave a couple of incense sticks for the 47 Ronin. I ended up here by chance, because I found a map, I was kind of lost, and, well, it turns out I was right here, that's all. I was walking, I started moving around, and suddenly I said, but it's close by here. That's great, last pro. If you're a foreigner, you'll be able to appreciate a lot of things that you don't have in your country. And those are things that, even though you have to constantly get used to and adapt, at the same time you can constantly enjoy and appreciate all the good things that Japan has. And that's something you have and appreciate more from the point of view of a foreigner, of a non-native. And that's a very important advantage. The thing is, it's too broad. Well, I've arrived at the station to head home. Last counter. Is it hard to feel like you're at home? How does one feel, right? Whether you feel like you belong to this society or not, it really depends on each person. But, well, beyond all that, what do I know? To me, Japan is a beautiful country. I love Japan. It has its good things and its bad things. So that's it. Greetings to you, your family, your pet, and your jerk of a neighbor. Goodbye. I can leave now.